Data Admin Exercise number 3, Automatic Aggregation. In this exercise you will learn how to create a dataset within Origin where the system will aggregate the data from output area level to other geographic levels. Before completing this exercise we recommend you complete exercise numbers 1 and 2. And all supporting documents for this exercise are available on the training system within the training theme. So this is an example where we're going to take a data set which is available at a specific small geographic level, in this case output areas, and aggregate it up to larger areas. So first thing we're going to do is examine this data set and decide, is it fit for purpose or does it need restructuring? Looking at this example data set, we have worksheets that cover many of the geographic areas. This is unnecessary in this example because this data has to be uploaded. So the first thing I'm going to do to reduce the file size is simply remove any of these other worksheets, leaving just the output area worksheet as the lowest level. There's also footnote data which we can use later to fill out the metadata, but for the purpose of uploading I'm also going to delete that. So we can also see that this worksheet contains not just the output area data, which is in column K here, but it also has LSOA, MSOA data and so forth. So in effect we can actually delete columns A through to J, and really I'm doing this here just to reduce the file size, which will make it quicker to upload and import. So having done that, we can then look and see that the data starts in row 7, that the geographies are now configured in column A, and that the indicators are all available in columns E through to N. So before I save this, the last thing I'll do is rename the worksheet to the word data, and now I'm just going to save it as exercise number 3 prepared. The next step is then to create the dataset within Origin and upload data into it. So I've gone into my dataset management screen, and the first thing I'm going to do is locate a suitable template to use. Now our source data is at output area level, so we want to choose a template that includes output areas plus those additional areas that we want to aggregate to. I'm going to look for all data sets that span the entire Doric region. I can apply a filter here, and we're going to use this template which includes output areas, super output areas, middle super output areas and the local authorities. So we'll go ahead and click the copy link, which will copy this template, and then we're ready to start filling out the metadata for the dataset. So I'm going to give it the name just religion, and I'm going to just put my initials in brackets beside it. Now you don't have to do that in the real world. I'm just doing that so I can identify it easily. This is a test system and we might find there's quite a lot of test data sets with the name religion. I'm going to leave it in the test data theme. It's standard variables. Really the difference this time is we're going to pick the aggregation method. You can see there's a number of different aggregation methods defined here. Each of these aggregation methods define the smallest area that your source data is available at. So we're going to pick output area and upwards. We're going to just pick ONS as the data source. And for frequency, I'm just going to put in 1 off. And of course you can go ahead and fill in other metadata, but we'll just save changes there. And now we're ready to set up the variables. So we'll go into the Variables tab. We'll create a new variable. And we'll call it religion again. And we'll put it into a category People and Society. And of course we can put in additional detailed notes, keywords, etc. But I'll just save changes at this point. And now we're ready to start configuring each of our dimensions, our indicators. So if we look briefly at the source Excel spreadsheet, we can see that we have basically indicators for each of these religions. So we want to set these up as individual dimensions of the data set. So I'm going to click the Insert Dimension, and this form is pretty much the same. We've just got a couple of additional fields this time. So our first field is all people. I just like to use copy and paste, always saves time. It's a whole number. For code, we can put in the column reference, and this will save us having to define it at a later point. And the difference this time with aggregations, we can define how this column will be aggregated. We have 3 options. We have sum, which basically will sum up or count or aggregate by summing up this column, or else we can take an average, or else we can actually tell this for this column to skip the aggregation altogether, which is useful if you've got certain indicators that don't make sense to be aggregated. And we'll just tick the box. So then I want to go and do that for each of the other indicators in this data set. For this exercise, I'm actually going to just do the first 3 indicators in the data set, but you'd repeat this activity for all 10 or 12 as required. So I'm now going to return to the data set to configure the import definition and actually upload the data. So first of all, we're going to specify from our spreadsheet the row that the data starts in and the column that the geographies are defined in. So it's 7 and A, and I'll just save that. So if we now look at the indicator mappings, we can see that they've been carried through from the previous configuration. So at this stage we're pretty much ready to go. We don't have to make any geography mappings because they should use all the snack codes. So what we're going to do is click on the import tool, and we'll see now that we have this extra check box called aggregate, which is ticked by default. So basically this allows us to aggregate the incoming data. And I'll come back to this here because there's certain scenarios where you might want to uncheck that. So we then pick the time dimension. This is a one-off data set being census, so I'm just going to pick 2001. We're going to select the file to upload, which was the prepared religion data set, and we'll simply click import data. This may take a few moments or else a few minutes, really depending on the size of the data file you're uploading and your own internet connection. And there we have, the batch has been uploaded. We can see there's been a total of 12,321 inserts, which should be the equivalent of the number of rows in the spreadsheet multiplied by the number of dimensions. And then obviously there's the aggregated regions as well in there, so quite a lot of data. And we're now ready really to test out how that worked. So what we're going to do now is go to the security and just make sure that this new data set is available to our training group and users. So we have it available to test data users. We'll also put it into the test data theme, and we'll save that. And then what we'll do is we'll go into the data browser, I like to open it in a second window just so I can flick back and forward easily. So I can look in the dataset list or browse by category. So if we look down here, there's my test dataset, and we can just do a spot check. So I'm just going to look at the district level aggregations. And there we go, we can see that the data values are there, and these obviously would then need to be spot checked in the spreadsheet, make sure that they've added up all right. But that does it. We are now in a position where we can go back, change any of the metadata or security settings for the dataset, and that ends this aggregation dataset exercise.